Throughout my life, I always said I wanted peace, but deep down, I was terrified by it. Sometimes I still am. Because peace equals quiet, and in the quiet, there's no noise to hide behind. It's just me, and every version of me that I never made peace with. Whenever my life would start to go well, I would just sabotage it. I'd destroy good things just to feel like myself again. I would find reasons to drown in what I already survived. Not because I like the pain, but because pain is the only thing that is familiar to me. It's like my nervous system learned that the only way to feel alive is through pain. Because suffering gave me identity, it gave me story, it made me feel real. I didn't fear pain, I fear the emptiness that comes when it's gone. Because then I'd have to face myself and ask, who am I when I'm not broken? And believe me, that question was the mirror I spent my whole life avoiding. It took me years to reach this level of awareness and see the same patterns in other people. And although I might have enough self-awareness to identify the problem, how do I actually fix it? What's the solution? So first, you have to stop trying to escape it. You have to sit with it, not as a victim, but as an observer. See the patterns and the thoughts that trigger it. Second, stop calling it yours. The pain isn't your personality. When those old thoughts surface, you have to recognize them for what they are. Ancient defense mechanisms. They kept you alive once, but they're killing you now. When the urge of self-sabotage hits, you have to stop and say to yourself, this is the ghost of my old survival trying to come back to life. Then choose one action that breaks the pattern. Go outside, talk to someone. Journal what the pain is trying to say, instead of letting it speak through destruction. And that's what healing actually looks like. It's not bliss, it's not enlightenment, but hundreds of tiny rebellions against who you used to be. Step 3, 4, 5, 6, fucking 7, consistency. You can't expect peace to stay if you only practice it when life's easy. You have to train your nervous system to see peace as safe, because peace, as controversial as this might sound, it's not a reward, it's a skill. And the more you practice it, the more your mind learns that calm doesn't mean danger. You're not broken for being addicted to your pain. You just got used to surviving more than living. But survival was never meant to be your permanent state. The addiction ends when you stop mistaking pain for proof that you're alive. Okay, pain was fire that forged you, but you don't need to burn anymore to prove you can survive the flames. You've already walked through hell. Now it's time to leave the ashes behind and reclaim your peace. I used to think that self-sabotage meant weakness. That I was broken in some specific way other people weren't. That normal people didn't do what I did. Didn't watch themselves make the wrong decision in slow motion and make it anyway. Didn't light the good thing on fire just to feel the warmth for a second before it was gone. Believe me, it took me years of living it, and it took me many years of watching it from a distance to understand that. Self-sabotage is not really self-destruction, is it? It's self-protection. Every time I burned something good, it wasn't that I was choosing the worst option of them all. I was choosing the familiar option. I was choosing the pain I already knew over the happiness I didn't trust. Because happiness, real happiness, was the most dangerous thing my nervous system had ever been asked to hold. What if I let myself have it and then it's taken away? I mean, better to take it away myself, to be the one holding the match. Better to burn it on my own terms than watch it burn on someone else's. And I know that this logic is insane. I know that. But at that time, I wasn't operating on logic. I was operating on reflex. A reflex built so deep and so early that by the time I was old enough to question it, it was already running my life for years. It was already making decisions before I was conscious enough to make them myself. Sounds familiar? The parts of yourself you couldn't integrate, the parts you couldn't face nor accept, they don't disappear when you ignore them. They go underground. I already mentioned this in one of my previous videos. And from the underground, they run everything. They choose your relationships, your exits. They choose the drink at midnight. The person you know is wrong for you before you finish the first conversation. The door you walk through while the part of you that watches is already grieving what's about to happen. My addiction to suffering was my shadow made behavioral. I couldn't look directly at the emptiness, the place where something should have been built and never was. So I just filled it. I filled it with noise. I filled it with chaos. I filled it with people who confirmed what I already believed about myself. And I just kept filling it with enough noise that the silence never got a chance to speak. Because if the silence ever spoke, it might say something I couldn't come back from. My relationships were the perfect example. And this is the part I least wanted to talk about, but I didn't choose chaos consciously. I chose what felt like home. And home, for a long fucking time, was turbulent. Home was someone who ran away when I got too close. Someone who gave me just enough warmth to make the coldness feel like it was my fault. Who made me feel like I was always one wrong move away from losing them. Because that tension, that constant low-level threat, that was the frequency I grew up on. That was familiar to me. Calm didn't feel like love. Calm felt like indifference. Like the person didn't care enough to be dramatic about me. Like nothing real was happening between us. So what happened was I left the calm ones, or in this case, I stayed and created enough chaos that they eventually left me. And then I went back to the fire and I called it passion. I called it chemistry. I kept saying that this one is different. And believe me, I meant it every single time, because to my nervous system, it really was different from anything safe. It was familiar. And to me, familiar felt more real than anything else. And mind you, I'm not saying this to explain myself or to ask for sympathy. I'm saying it because I couldn't change the pattern until I could name it. And believe me, naming it meant admitting something I didn't want to admit. That the person I kept choosing in different faces and different cities was always a reflection of what I believed I deserved.
Not what I wanted, what I believed. And believe me, those two things can live so far apart from each other that a person can spend their entire life chasing what they want while walking straight toward what they believe, without ever noticing the distance between the two. The suffering wasn't just something I endured, it was something I organized my entire life around. And it was giving me things that peace never could. It gave me purpose. When I was suffering, I knew what my days were for. Survive this, make it to the other side of this. There was a mission in it, a brutal clarity. Peace doesn't give you that. Peace asks you a question I was completely unequipped to answer. What do you actually want? And for someone who built himself entirely through hardship, that question to me felt like an accusation. Suffering gave me identity. I was the one who had it hard. I was the one who understood the darkness because he'd lived there and survived. Take that away from me, and who am I? Just a person in a room with no story. No reason for why things are the way they are and why I am the way I am. Just a person standing there, empty-handed. Suffering gave me permission. It gave me permission to not have it together and to stay exactly where I was. When I was in pain, nobody expected me to perform. The moment I started actually healing, all of that disappeared. Suddenly, I was accountable. Suddenly, there were no more excuses. And what if I showed up fully and it still wasn't enough? At least when I was suffering, that failure had a reason. Suffering also gave me connection. Believe it or not, but the fastest, deepest intimacy I ever found was inside shared pain. People reveal themselves in suffering, theirs and yours. And for someone who grew up behind walls, pain was the only door I'd found that was actually opened. So the moment I stopped leading with it, stopped making it the first thing I put on the table, something went quiet. And that quiet felt like abandonment, even though nothing had actually left. So I wasn't processing the suffering anymore. I was producing it. I was keeping it alive because the alternative, the version of me with nothing heavy to carry, was a person I didn't recognize and I didn't know how to be. So when I say healing is hard, I'm not talking about the emotional weight of it. I'm talking about the fact that healing is a real loss. I wasn't just leaving the pain behind. I was leaving everything it had quietly built around me. The purpose, the identity, the permission, the connection, all of it gone. And I had to be willing to build replacements from scratch on ground I'd never stood on before, without the thing that had been holding me up for years. Nobody told me that was what getting better actually cost. And I felt that cost every single time I tried to stop and couldn't. Every time I walked back into the same darkness and came out unchanged. Every time I reached for the same thing, chose the same person, woke up from the same night, I could feel something eroding. Some part of me that used to believe things could be different going a little quieter, a little further away. There was a version of me that started this with fire. with a real desire to break the pattern. And for a long time, that version kept losing until he wasn't sure the exit was real anymore. That's the real danger of the addiction to suffering. It's not even the pain itself. It's the slow erosion of the belief that you deserve something else. The first time I tried to actually stop it, not talk about stopping in a way that felt productive without changing anything, but actually sit in the quiet and refuse to reach for the next thing, it felt like dying. It just felt wrong, profoundly, physically wrong. My body had been running on cortisol and adrenaline for so long that calm registered as threat. The absence of chaos felt like the eye of a storm. The pause before something worse arrived. I'd sit in the quiet and wait for the threat that wasn't coming. Anxiety. And when it didn't come, I would manufacture one. I would start an argument that didn't need to happen, or text someone I had no business texting. I would think about something I'd already thought 100 times just to feel the familiar weight of it. Anything to get the signal back, because without the signal, I didn't know I was still here. That's what withdrawal from suffering actually feels like. A flat, hollow wrongness where the intensity used to be. A silence so total, it has sound. And I ran from it. Every time. For years, I ran from it. And I ran from it. It's not because healing wasn't possible, but because healing felt exactly like the thing I'd spent my whole life learning to escape. Stillness, vulnerability. The open, terrifying space of not knowing what comes next and not having pain to fill it. The silence wasn't trying to hurt me. The silence was just silence. I just didn't know how to exist inside it without disappearing. This is why pain feels like home. It wasn't even because home was supposed to be good, but because home was pain. And the nervous system doesn't know the difference between familiar and safe. It just knows what it recognizes. And it will guide you back to what it recognizes through every decision you think you're making freely, through every person you think you're choosing deliberately, until you teach it with enormous patience and enormous discomfort that there is another frequency. That calm is not the absence of feeling. That peace is not emptiness wearing a mask. That you can be still and still be real. That you can be okay and still be you. I want to end this video with one question. Not an answer, I don't have the answer, but I've learned that the right question does more than any answer ever could. Who are you when you're not broken? Not in a world where none of it happened, not if the past looked different. Here, now, with everything still in your body, with all the damage still in your hands. Who are you outside of it? I couldn't answer that for a long fucking time. I'd built everything, every story I told about myself, every relationship I chose, around the wound at the center. Take the wound away, and there was just a person standing in a room not knowing what to do with his hands. So I started there, not with the healing, with the identity. what do I truly want? Not to cope, not just to survive, but because I genuinely desire it. What does a life look like when it's built around who I am, not what I've survived? I didn't have the answer. I just kept asking this question over and over again. And gradually, not all at once, of course, and definitely not in a way that looked like a movie, something started to answer me back. The addiction ends when suffering stops being your answer to who you are. The pain already did its job. It made me sharp and perceptive. It built a version of me that can walk into the darkest rooms and know exactly what lives there, because I already lived there. It gave me this, whatever this is, a voice, and the ability to say something true without looking away. That's not nothing, but it's done now. It's done now. That part is finished. And it will keep collecting rent on a debt I already paid if I let it. So the question was never if I deserve the pain, whether I deserve the pain. The question is whether I'm willing to stop paying for it after it's already gone. I've already survived the fire. I don't need to keep living in the ash to prove it was real.